In the last video and activity, you learned about keeping good project hygiene by creating a project closeout report. Now we'll discuss a similar concept called impact reporting, and you'll learn how to write an executive summary. The purpose of creating an impact report is to show others the value that's been added to your project. Usually, it's in the form of a presentation guided by a deck or slideshow you've created. Unlike a detailed closeout report that's designed for future project managers or other readers interested in the project details, an impact report is typically created for senior stakeholders or project sponsors who weren't involved in the day-to-day details of the project. Reporting your project impact is key for a few reasons. It can help you to analyze results to adapt and improve services, motivate staff and senior stakeholders by celebrating achievements, build trust and credibility with supporters, sponsors, funders, and anyone benefiting from the project, and share lessons with similar organizations. Let's get into the elements that should go into an impact report. One of the most important pieces of an impact report is the executive summary. It's where you can highlight the key points of the project for your stakeholders. An executive summary is a few sentences to a paragraph that describe the project's purpose and outcome. It provides an overview of the main points of a larger report. It's written to share with the stakeholders who might not have time to review the entire report. So think of the executive summary as a highlight reel for your project. The purpose is to give senior stakeholders a concise and strong description of positive outcomes within the project without giving them too much information or being too vague. When creating an executive summary, ask yourself this question. If an executive didn't have time to read all of the project documentation and only had time to read this executive summary, would they be able to understand the project highlights? Your executive summary should aim to answer questions like, how effectively was the project delivered? And what did we learn from it? In addition to asking yourself some foundational questions, it's a good idea to review your SMART goals, your business case, and your project charter to help you write the executive summary. These will help you reflect on and identify the most important aspects of your project, which are likely tied to key accomplishments and positive outcomes. One useful tip you might find helpful when creating an executive summary is to actually draft the rest of the impact report first. This will help you hone in on the most relevant information to include in your summary. In this impact report template, you'll see slides for results, what worked, and next steps. In these slides, you should aim to describe your project in detail using things like graphs and images where applicable to tell the story of the project's success. The more detailed you get in these slides, the easier it'll be to pull out and identify the highlights and add them to your executive summary. After you've drafted those sections of the impact report, you're ready to draft the executive summary. You'll want to include elements of the following information. Project vision. Here, you'll specify what the purpose of the report was. What need is the project fulfilling? Key accomplishments. This is your opportunity to discuss which activities, tasks, and milestones helped you define success. What are the main highlights in the impact report? Did your project increase profitability? What value did the project add? Talk about those here. Lessons learned. This is where you'll talk about potential improvements. How will you change future processes for the better? Okay, let's explore an example of an executive summary. Say you just completed a project to launch a new money-saving app that automatically sends money from its users' checking accounts into designated savings accounts bi-monthly. The amount sent from checking to savings is determined by how much money you have in your checking account at the time of withdrawal, plus a few other variables, like the frequency of deposits. Your beta users loved the app because it helped them build a savings account without even thinking about it. So let's start with our project's vision. It might say something like, our goal was to help users get ahead financially by creating an algorithm-based automatic deposit system that pools money into a savings account. Now, let's talk about what the project accomplished. These are your key accomplishments. So you might say, as we prepared to launch, we helped 1,000 beta users save over $300,000 in just 6 months. This proved the use case and need for our app. And in key accomplishments, you might also want to include financial highlights. So we could say something like, by charging users $3 per month, with 1,000 users in 6 months, we netted $18,000. Finally, it's good to talk about what things could have been done differently. Include lessons learned by saying something like, "The main feedback received from our beta testing was that our users wanted more frequent updates about when their money was being transferred. We'll add that in our update." Okay, let's review the main ideas we've covered in this video. Reporting your impact can help you to analyze results to adapt and improve services, motivate staff and senior stakeholders through celebrating achievements, build trust and credibility with supporters, sponsors, funders, and those benefiting from the project, and share lessons with similar organizations. And we also covered executive summaries and how they're essential to highlighting the key elements of your project to stakeholders. Now that you've got a better idea of what an impact report might entail, it's time to write your own executive summary. We've built out an impact report so you can get a sense of what a typical report might look like. All you have to do is fill in the executive summary based on your new insights.